Hi friends, how are you today? My name is Celine and I'm with the La Crosse Public Library. I'm here today to do a little story time, what we call Read Around La Crosse. Can you guess where I am today? If you look around, what do you see? Do you see lots of trees and water? Do you see any houses? No. So can you guess? This is the Myrick Park Marsh in La Crosse. That's where we're doing Read Around La Crosse today. I wanted to show you this beautiful place. And I'd like to read a book to you about the marsh. This is about things that live in the marsh. Can you guess what some of those things are? You might be able to hear a few. Well, let's see if what you guessed is in my book, okay? This is called At the Marsh in the Meadow by Jeannie Mabane. Did you notice all those M's? Marsh, meadow, Mabane? And then some pictures of some things that live in the marsh? Let's learn about them, okay? All right, here we go. This is the mucky mud at the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Do you see the mud kind of down here? The blue and the green are the plants in the sky and the brown is the mud. These are the reeds that grow in the mucky mud at the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. So the reeds can be called cattails. You maybe heard that name of a plant. These are tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mud at the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Oh, what's this? These are mayflies that gobble tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Have you ever seen that bug? How about this one? Do we know those? These are water spiders. See how they don't sink? They walk on the water. They snag little mayflies that gobble tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. So we've got spiders eating mayflies. How about these? These are an insect with a cool name, I think. Dragonflies. Have you seen those? These are the dragonflies that nibble water spiders that snag little mayflies that gobble tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Sometimes dragonflies are real colorful and shiny. Now what do we have? These are minnows that dine on the dragonflies that nibble water spiders that snag little mayflies that gobble tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Do you know what minnows are? Little tiny fish, not very big. Do you think there's fish behind me in the water? I bet. How about those? These aren't fish. They're gonna grow legs and turn into something else. Maybe frogs? These are tadpoles that slurp up the minnows that dine on the dragonflies that nibble water spiders that snag little mayflies that gobble tiny algae that float among the reeds that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Let's see, what do you think eats tadpoles? Oh, those are not minnows, are they? These are the fish that gulp down the tadpoles, that slurp up the minnows, that dine on the dragonflies, that nibble water spiders, that snag little mayflies, that gobble tiny algae, that float among the reeds, and grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Wow, there's some big fish. I think they're behind us too. I see fisher people trying to catch them. Do we know this bird? We have these in La Crosse and I've seen them at the marsh. This is a big bald eagle that swoops from up high to grasp the fish. See him, he's about to grab it with his talons. that gulp down the tadpoles, that slurp up the minnows, that dine on the dragonflies, that nibble water spiders, that snag little mayflies, that gobble tiny algae, that float among the reeds, that grow in the mucky mud on the bottom of the marsh, in the middle of the meadow. Wow, we got all the way up to eagles. Well, let's see, what is the eagle doing with the fish he caught? Do you see the little ones in this giant nest that eagles make? These are hungry eaglets, fed by the big eagle that swoops from up high to grasp the fish, that gulp down the tadpoles, that slurp up the minnows, that dine on the dragonflies, that nibble water spiders, that snag little mayflies, that gobble tiny algae, that float among the reeds on the bottom of the marsh in the middle of the meadow. Wow. So there's all the things we talked about today. Reeds to algae, mayflies to spiders, minnows, where's our minnows? There we go. Tadpoles to fish, to eagles and eaglets. That's a food chain. We went from all the way down from the little plants in the water, all the way up to the big eagle. And there's another beautiful picture of a marsh and a meadow. Even some new animals in that picture. Can you see them? Some Canada geese and rabbit. I hear some interesting animals making noise over there. Some birds. I hope you get to come to the marsh if you haven't already and see lots of these things. Can you see the brown furry thing at the end of the log, right where the log goes into the water? That's one of our muskrats that lives here in the marsh. Do you see him nibbling on the plants out there? You might want to bring these. Do you know what these are? They're binoculars, that's right. And they make things that are far away look closer, so you can see them real good, even the colors and everything. So I bring my binoculars when I come. And I hope you enjoy the other things at the Myrick Park, like the playground and the trails, the beautiful building we have. So we'll look forward to seeing you around La Crosse. Bye, friends.